Hello, I am Nathan, and this is Thunder Up Talk. So, the Western Conference is deeper than ever before. But when you really stop to think about it, at least in my opinion, there are only five kinds of teams that exist in the Western Conference, ranging from teams that are tanking teams to true title contenders. So, here is the breakdown of all the teams in the Western Conference heading into the upcoming NBA season. So in the first tier of teams, I've labeled it the tanking tier. So these are teams that, in my opinion, honestly should not even try to win. They should try to lose, just like the Thunder did at a really high level. But these teams just haven't quite caught on, but they need to. So coming in at 15, I've got the Utah Jazz. They've got Ace Bailey. I really like him as a player, but they're young. Um, and they weren't very good last year, and I don't think they're going to be very good this year. I think they're going to be the clear cut worst team in the Western Conference. At 14, I've got the Trailblazers. Again, Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard just came off injury. They've got just a bunch of young guys who don't know how to win, and I think they're going to be really bad again this year. Coming in at 13, I've got the Sacramento Kings. So in this tier, I feel like this group of guys probably have the most amount of talent. They've got Zach Levine, they've got um, DeRozan, they've got Sabonis, their best player. So they've got guys that can play, but I think it's going to be a fire sale. I think at some point the Sacramento Kings are just going to blow things up. If I were Sabonis, I would want to get out of there. Out of there, I'd be asking to go to the Eastern Conference. So at 13, I've got the Kings. At 12, I've got the Phoenix Suns. They do have Devin Booker. They do have Jalen Green, who I'm not a big fan of. They just don't have a lot of depth. And in the Western Conference, it's just tough. So I've got those four teams in the tanking tier. My next tier is called the fighting for the playoffs tier. So these are the teams that will probably be in the play in or at least fighting for a play in all the way up to um, fighting for that eight spot. And I've got four teams in that tier as well. My number 11 team is the New Orleans Pelicans. I debated on putting them in the tanking tier as well, but Zion is actually supposedly in shape. He looks really good. Um, they've got guys that I do like. I like Trey Murphy. I like Herb Jones. Yeah, Herb Jones plays incredible defense. Trey Murphy, he always plays the Thunder really well, and he can just really shoot it. So if Zion is able to stay somewhat healthy, I think they could stay out of that tanking tier, but I still don't expect very much from them. Coming in at 10, I've got the Dallas Mavericks. So obviously, there's no Kyrie because of his knee injury. Um, but they've got a lot of big guys that doesn't, it kind of intrigues me a little bit. You know, they've got AD, who is also very injury prone, but effective defensively when he is healthy. They've got Gafford and Lively. And then, they just drafted Cooper Flag, and I think he's going to be awesome, actually. But to not have Kyrie, I just don't take them too seriously. I think they'll be competitive. I think they'll be have a decent floor because they're going to play really good defense too, I think. But yeah, I've got them at 10. At number 9, I've got the San Antonio Spurs. So I've seen a lot of people really bumping up the Spurs into kind of the top 8, maybe even top 6 team. I just don't buy it. I know Wemby is good. I know the NBA is just waiting to anoint Victor Wembanyama as the best player in the NBA. I just don't see it yet. The team just isn't there. Wemby is incredible. Don't get me wrong, but he's not good enough to get them past, in my opinion, kind of the play in or maybe the 8 seed. And if I'm a Spurs fan and if I'm part of the Spurs organization, I take that as a win. I don't think we see them being a true playoff type team until next season. I think they'll make that jump in another year. At number 8, again in the fighting for the playoffs here, I've got the Memphis Grizzlies. Just because I think if he gets is right mentally, physically, that's still a really good team. Um, They signed Ty Jerome. They've got KCP, which if he finds his shot, can be really good for the team. Um, but they did lose Desmond Bain. That is a really big hit for that team. Desmond Bain, sometimes he would just take over games, and having kind of a go-to scorer is a really big deal. I think he'll end up helping Orlando a ton. But with that, I do still feel like Memphis is a little bit better than San Antonio and Dallas, but we will see. My next tier, I've only got two teams, and it's the too old to actually win a championship team, or to win a championship tier. And number seven, I've got the Golden State Warriors. Now, when all their guys are healthy, or at least last year, they were really good. But that's relying on Jimmy Butler to stay healthy, which at this point in his career, um, just doesn't seem to be possible. And Steph has had his injuries too, and Draymond, he's just not the same guy. Um, he plays well defensively, but on the offensive end, he doesn't scare anyone at all. And then just to compound all of that, you've got the Kaminga drama. uh, Kaminga kind of doesn't want to be there. I don't think Steve Kerr wants Kaminga to be there at all. So I just don't have high hopes for them. I think the Golden State Warriors era has come and gone, but I've got them as the seventh team in the West. Coming in at six, I've got the Clippers. So again, same thing. They've got some really big names. They've got Kawhi, CP3, Bradley Beal, James Harden, who actually did play really good last year. But to bank on all these guys to stay healthy for the entirety of the season, um, I just don't buy that at all. So I've got them at six, and they do have Zubac too, and I really like Zubac at the center, and he's probably going to be their most consistent player because he doesn't get hurt like any of the all those other guys tend to. This is one of those teams, though, if somehow they were able to stay healthy, all they're all veterans. They could sneak into the top five or four, but I don't think I'm too off at putting them at six. My next tier is they could win everything if everything went perfectly for them. So that's kind of a long, drawn out name for this tier. But if everything goes perfectly, they could, in theory, win the title. And by everything going perfectly, their main guys would have to be incredible. And basically, Joker and Shea would have to get hurt. That would, to me, that's what would have to happen for these guys to actually make it to the finals. Um, but number five, I've got the Lakers. And this is one team that I feel like if I had to pick, might be my most overrated team. I do have a reason for putting them at five, but if they slip to six, seven, even eight, I would not be too shocked. Um, but I'll give you the positives first. So Luca is in shape, and we have seen Luca carry teams before. He carried the Mavs before to a finals all by himself, and he does have Austin Reeves. He does have LeBron James. Um, so those are the positives. And if Aiton can add anything to that team, that's nice too. Now, LeBron is already hurt. He's out for 3 to 4 weeks with sciatica. The Lakers don't play really hardly any defense at all. So that's a really big negative as well. And if that trend of them not playing good defense continues to happen like it did last year, they could very easily slide. But I am really just banking on the fact that I think Luka's going to have a bounce back year. I think he's going to look really good, and I think he's going to carry the Lakers to the fifth best record in the Western Conference. Number four, I've got the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, they're just always a super solid team. Anthony Edwards is a great talent. He's young. Hopefully, he'll continue to improve. Um, but the thing that I keep thinking about is that they lost Nikhil Alexander Walker. That's Shea's cousin, and I think that's going to be a bigger issue than what is being talked about. Nikhil was actually one of the more consistent and best players in the OKC Timberwolves series last year in the playoffs. He was better than I think he was better than Gobert. I think he's better than Julius Randle for a lot of the series. So I think that's going to be a really big hit. They're really going to need a lot of their younger guys to kind of step up for sure. But when you have a baseline of really solid defense, I think that's good enough to put them at 4. At number 3, I've got the Houston Rockets. So I considered putting them in the highest tier until Fred Van Vliet got injured. I think that was a devastating injury, and I just think they don't have a point guard. With that being said, the upgrade from Jalen Green to Kevin Durant, I think, is a really big deal. They also got Dorian Finney Smith, which is a player that I have always liked for a long time. I know a lot of Thunder players really wanted Dorian Finney Smith to be part of the Thunder for several years. I think having that wing depth does help the Rockets a little bit, but I'm really curious to see what happens at that point guard position. Um, if the Rockets were somehow able to get a legitimate starting point guard this season, I would consider moving them up to the next tier. But I just don't see it. So um, the final tier is what I've called the title favorites. And for me, it's title favorites for the NBA. It's not even just Western Conference. These two teams are head and shoulders, in my opinion, above everyone else. I don't think it's particularly close. So at number 2, I've got the Denver Nuggets. Now they lost Michael Porter Jr., but they got Cam Johnson. I think that's a plus. I would prefer to have Cam Johnson over MPJ um, for a few reasons. A lot of it is just defense. I think Cam Johnson's a better defender. I think that he's a little more reliable when it comes to injuries. So I think that's a positive. They also got Jonas Valanciunas, which is a great, just another depth piece at center for them for their team. Uh, and then this, I don't know if this has been talked about a lot or not, but they've got their coach. They've got David Adelman, and he'll just bring some stability. They have their coach. Hopefully, there's not as much coach drama with the Denver Nuggets this year, and I think all of that combined will have Denver at that number 2 spot in the standings at the end of the season. And finally, I've got the Oklahoma City Thunder. To me, this is the easiest pick. Even with Jalen Williams potentially being injured at the beginning of this season, we've shown that we can win 68 games without our third best player for the majority of an NBA season. I think the guys are only going to get better. All the young guys are going to continue to get better. And I think they're going to win another 63 to 69 wins. I think it's going to be something similar to last year. And it'd be exciting if they shot for the 70. I think they could get there if they really push for it. I don't know that that is necessarily on their agenda. Um, they are usually very conservative with their guys, especially when it comes to injury prevention in the regular season. But I do think they're going to win enough games to be the number 1 seed in the Western Conference Finals. Um, so I'll recap one final time. We'll go through the top 15 and then I'll say goodbye. So at number 15, I've got the Utah Jazz. Then I've got the Portland Trailblazers, the Sacramento Kings, and then the Phoenix Suns. Then the New Orleans Pelicans, the Dallas Mavericks, and the San Antonio Spurs. Then here are my playoff teams, and these number 8 would be the Memphis Grizzlies matching up against the Thunder in the playoffs. So that would be we would be seeing that for a second time. Then Golden State and Denver Nuggets. I think that could be a really fun series in the first round. Then we'd have the Clippers and the Houston Rockets. I kind of like the idea of Durant versus Harden matching up with each other. And then we'd have the Lakers at 5 and the Minnesota Timberwolves at 4. And I think that could be a really fun series too. Luka versus Ant-Man could be really fun. So that is it for my predictions for the Western Conference Finals standings and my 5-tier system. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you agree with the way I've tiered everybody. If you think I'm right or if I'm wrong, either way, that's great. Just let me know. And finally, if you like this content, you like what I'm saying, please like, please share, and please subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it. I will talk to you later. Thunder up.